Hello friends. If you were born on March 15th, you're not just another Pisces, you're a magnetic enigma wrapped in emotional depth and spiritual wisdom. Today, we're diving deep into the cosmic blueprint of those born on this date, exploring every facet of your astrological DNA, from Western and Vedic astrology to Druidic, flower, stone, and numerological perspectives. So, if March 15th is your birthday or if you're lucky enough to know someone who owns this magical date, buckle up. You're about to discover how the universe shaped your love life, friendships, business style, inner demons, and ultimate life purpose, in painstaking, star-ordained detail. Western Zodiac, the dreamy visionary. Being born on March 15th places you squarely in the third decan of Pisces, a zone steeped in deep spiritual symbolism and psychological richness. Governed not only by Neptune, the planet of dreams and illusion, but also by Pluto, the ruler of transformation and hidden forces, you exist as a walking paradox, soft yet intense, ethereal yet magnetic, dreamy yet determined in ways that surprise even you. This dual rulership infuses your essence with an unusual psychic sensitivity and gives you a powerful ability to undergo inner transformation time and again throughout life. You're not just adaptable, you are transmutational. You often reinvent yourself, shedding layers of outdated identity in favor of something more authentic and more closely aligned with your emotional truth. You walk through life with what many would describe as ancient eyes. Even as a child, you may have been called wise beyond your years, prone to daydreaming and imaginative play that seemed to pull from mysterious places. You're a natural storyteller, artist, or counselor. You intuit not only what others feel but what they fear, desire, or dare not say. That's not magic, it's your emotional radar, which is always on. But this gift comes with a cost. When you are surrounded by negativity, it clings to you. You can become energetically exhausted simply by existing in the wrong emotional environment for too long. You have an innate need for solitude, quiet time in nature, moments of creative escape, or spiritual reflection, not just as a luxury, but as a survival mechanism. These reflective pauses help you discharge the emotional buildup that would otherwise weigh you down. Your mystical side can be private, even secretive. Many born on March 15th quietly read tarot cards, follow lunar cycles, journal their dreams, or harbor a fascination with astrology, all while outwardly appearing grounded or even reserved. This mystic duality, deep spiritual sensitivity paired with worldly observance, makes you a bridge between what is seen and unseen. You're the type who can discuss both Jungian psychology and metaphysical symbolism at a dinner party, but you rarely show your full intellectual or spiritual hand unless you deeply trust someone. You don't merely live life, you feel through it, always seeking meaning behind the mundane, beauty behind the chaos, and connection beneath the surface. Love. When it comes to love, you're not merely romantic, you are spiritually driven in your pursuit of connection. A casual flirtation might entertain you for a while, but your heart is always scanning for something deeper, more soulful, and almost otherworldly. You crave the kind of intimacy that leaves you breathless, not because of passion alone, but because it feels destined. You're the person who believes in soulmates, karmic relationships, and love written in the stars. For you, physical touch is just one layer. The true high is in merging minds, sharing dreams, and resonating emotionally on an atomic level. You're capable of deep emotional devotion, bordering on self-sacrifice. You'll often intuit what a partner needs before they say it. Your affection manifests in the smallest gestures, adjusting your energy to comfort them, sending a song that captures how they feel, or simply being present during their storms. You have the rare ability to make another person feel truly seen, and that's addictive. Many people fall in love with your empathy before they even realize it. But here lies your paradox. That same empathy that makes you magical also makes you vulnerable. You tend to see the best in people, often projecting your ideals onto them and overlooking their flaws until they can no longer be ignored. This can lead to patterns where you give too much and receive too little. You may find yourself entangled in relationships with emotionally unavailable partners, believing you can heal or save them. Your belief in love's transformative power can sometimes blind you to the harsh truths of compatibility. Learning to love without losing yourself is a lifelong lesson. It means maintaining your sense of identity even while being deeply connected. It means setting emotional boundaries, no small feat for someone whose default setting is emotional absorption. But once you master this balance, you become the kind of partner that is not only romantic and devoted, but emotionally intelligent, wise, and magnetically nurturing. Your romantic style thrives in relationships where mutual emotional vulnerability is not just allowed, but welcomed. You're not interested in surface-level affection. You need someone who's willing to dive deep with you, to talk about the meaning of dreams, to discuss childhood wounds, to explore love as a sacred practice. Your ideal matches are Cancer, Scorpio, Taurus, and Capricorn. These signs either reflect your emotional depth, Cancer and Scorpio, or offer grounding energy, Taurus and Capricorn, that helps you stay balanced. Cancer understands your mood swings. Scorpio mirrors your intensity. Taurus soothes your chaos with sensual stability, and Capricorn offers emotional structure, helping you feel protected and prioritized. In contrast, signs like Gemini and Sagittarius may feel too emotionally scattered or detached to provide the deep bonding you crave. Gemini's intellect may fascinate you but ultimately lack the emotional gravity you require. Sagittarius might offer thrilling adventures, but their need for freedom can clash with your longing for soul-deep intimacy. Leo, while passionate and affectionate, may at times be too focused on self-expression and dominance, which can leave you feeling overshadowed rather than held. You long for a relationship where both partners continuously evolve together, a safe place where transformation is celebrated and love is used as a force for healing. When you find that, you're not just in a relationship, you're in a sacred partnership. Marriage. For someone born on March 15th, marriage isn't simply a formal union, it's a sacred soul agreement, a deep emotional contract that transcends law and logic. You don't just marry a person, you marry their energy, their wounds, their essence. You are profoundly romantic and often view marriage through a spiritual lens, as a kind of eternal joining, a partnership not only for this lifetime, but potentially for lifetimes beyond. This means you take commitment incredibly seriously. You don't enter marriage lightly, and if you do, it's usually because you've convinced yourself that it's destined. When you're in love, you're all in. Marriage, to you, is a beautiful chance to build something divine, an emotional sanctuary where both people can evolve. You desire a relationship that grows in depth with time, one that feels like an intimate ecosystem. You're deeply nurturing and emotionally invested in your partner's growth, happiness, and healing. You want to create a home that doesn't just protect your bodies, but shelters your shared spirit. But you're not naive. Deep down, you know that love can suffer under the weight of real life. That's why you're drawn to partners who are not only romantic or spiritual, but also stable, dependable, and emotionally literate. You need someone who gets it, who understands that marriage for you is a daily act of soul connection, not just managing bills or sharing a house. What often surprises your partner is how emotionally attuned you are to their subtle needs. A twitch in their smile, a hesitation in their voice, you notice everything. You're the type to put on their favorite song when they've had a hard day, to silently hold them without needing to talk, or to write a note and hide it in their bag just because. You give to your partner in intuitive, invisible ways. That's your love language, emotional clairvoyance. However, your emotional radar is also highly sensitive to neglect. If your partner becomes distant, distracted, or stops investing emotionally, you'll feel it like a punch to the soul. You might not even say anything at first. Pisces often retreats into silence, hoping things will fix themselves. But if neglect continues, your love will turn to sorrow, and sorrow, if left unhealed, will become distance. This is when your dreamy idealism can crash hard against reality. You don't need grand gestures to feel loved. You don't need diamonds or dramatic speeches. What you need is presence. A deep gaze, a shared laugh, a partner who asks how your spirit is doing, not just how your day was. In a way, your ideal marriage feels more like a shared inner world than a checklist of milestones. You crave that inexplicable bond, that knowing glance across a room, that warm hand to hold in the dark moments. With the right partner, someone emotionally evolved, compassionate, and open to soul-level love, you become the quiet power behind the relationship. You're supportive, encouraging, and endlessly giving. You'll remind your partner of their light when they forget it. You'll nurse them through their doubts, celebrate their victories as if they were your own, and build a sense of home that feels like a sacred space. You're not loud in your strength, but you are irreplaceable. Still, boundaries are your life's challenge in marriage. Because your love runs so deep, you can lose yourself in the needs and moods of your spouse. You might overextend, hoping to save them, or ignore your own desires to maintain peace. That's not love, that's martyrdom. A healthy marriage for you is one where both partners are allowed to feel deeply, grow individually, and still come back to each other not out of dependency, but out of devotion. At your best, you're the kind of spouse who reminds people why marriage can be beautiful. Because it can be a quiet place where two souls choose each other over and over again, no matter how chaotic the world becomes outside their door. Sex. Sex, for you, is far from a mechanical act. It's a sacred ritual, a ceremony of emotional surrender, a dance between bodies and souls that erases the illusion of separation. You don't just have sex. You create emotional art through intimacy. You merge not only skin and breath but heartbeats and fantasies. Born under the sign of Pisces and influenced by Neptune and Pluto, your sexuality is deeply mystical, empathetic, and intensely psychological. You crave intimacy that feels fated, where the first touch feels like recognition, where making love becomes a form of healing. You're not in it for physical release alone, though you certainly enjoy it. You seek the afterglow of emotional closeness, that warm silence where two people exist in perfect stillness, wordless and whole. Fantasy is essential to your erotic world. You're highly imaginative, and your mind often plays just as big a role in arousal as the body. You might find yourself aroused by scenarios, stories, shared secrets, or the anticipation of connection more than the act itself. You're drawn to partners who stimulate you mentally and emotionally, people who are playful, open, and unafraid of depth. Your empathy gives you an almost telepathic touch in bed. You intuit what your partner wants, often before they even ask. You're generous, adaptable, and attuned. Your goal is mutual transcendence, not just pleasure, but connection. That said, you're not always direct. You may struggle to articulate your own desires, especially if you were raised in environments where sexuality was shamed or hidden. That's why emotional safety is key. Once you trust someone completely, you open up into a mesmerizing, deeply expressive lover. Sex also becomes a medium through which you heal emotional wounds, not only for yourself but for your partner. This is beautiful, but it can also be dangerous. Sometimes, you may seek out sex when what you truly crave is emotional closeness. If that deeper connection is missing, you might still go through the motions, hoping to create closeness through physical touch alone. This can lead to emotional confusion, attachment to the wrong partners, or even escapist behaviors. And yes, you do have kinks. Many Pisceans born on March 15 have a fascination with psychological play, power dynamics, role play, secrets, and the subtleties of surrender. What turns you on isn't always what's done, it's what it means. A blindfold isn't just about darkness, it's about vulnerability. A whispered command isn't just dominant, it's emotionally charged. You often blur the line between pleasure and meaning, making you one of the most emotionally complex lovers of the zodiac. You're also naturally drawn to partners who carry a sense of mystery or emotional intensity. A strong mind, a wounded soul, a deep thinker, these traits are magnetic to you. You often find yourself attracted to people you can unravel, people with layers. Your sexual energy thrives on emotional depth, psychic exchange, and the quiet promise of something forbidden or hidden beneath the surface. But remember, while your sexual nature is empathetic and healing, it must also be protected. You're highly impressionable and can absorb energy through sex, so choose your partners wisely. Intimacy leaves an imprint on your soul. If your lover is chaotic, broken, or emotionally blocked, you may unconsciously carry that energy long after the lights go out. At your best, your sexuality is transcendent. You don't just satisfy, you elevate. You give your partners an experience that lingers in their memory, not because of technique alone, but because of the way you make them feel seen, safe, desired, and adored. For you, sex isn't just about touch, it's about transformation. And when you find a partner who understands that, you don't just have chemistry, you create magic. Friendship. Being born on March 15th blesses you with a profoundly soulful approach to friendship. You're not someone who skims the surface. When you care about someone, you dive in. You remember their childhood traumas, their favorite songs from 7th grade, and the exact way they like their coffee when they're heartbroken. You're not just a friend, you're a safe harbor in a storm. The kind of person who will show up at 3 a.m. with snacks and a playlist if your friend texts, "I can't do this anymore." You don't just support, you carry. What sets you apart is your innate ability to tune in. You can read your friends like poetry, often sensing what's wrong before they say a word. A missed punctuation in a text, a pause before a lol, an Instagram post that just doesn't feel right, you notice. You reach out, and you never do it for recognition. You do it because you feel them. Their energy, their sadness, their joy, it flows into you, unfiltered. But this emotional intimacy can be a double-edged sword. Your deep empathy makes you a magnet for people who are lost, wounded, or in need of healing. You don't just attract friends, you attract projects. You'll listen for hours, offer advice, sacrifice your own plans, and show unconditional love. This is your superpower, and your vulnerability. Because over time, you risk becoming the unofficial therapist in your friend group. And even healers need healing. You also tend to absorb the moods of those around you. If your closest friend is anxious, you'll feel restless. If they're depressed, your energy might plummet without understanding why. You often carry emotional weight that's not even yours, which can leave you feeling emotionally exhausted even after a short interaction. That's why it's critical for you to learn how to set energetic boundaries, even with those you love most. Friendship for you is about mutual soul recognition. You need friends who see the real you, not just the helper, the healer, the wise one, but also the soft, dreamy, complicated human underneath. You thrive when you have friends who don't just take from your energy but pour back into it, who offer you comfort, grounding, and even challenge you when you start to disappear into other people's problems. This is where earth signs like Virgo and Taurus shine. Virgo mirrors your service-oriented heart but balances it with rational detachment. They'll help you see things clearly when your emotions cloud your perspective. Taurus offers stability, loyalty, and an unwavering presence that calms your emotional tides. These friends remind you that not everything has to be dramatic to be meaningful. Their grounded energy gives you space to exhale. Capricorn also makes a strong match. They respect your emotional depth but help you build stronger boundaries. They don't always get your mystical side, but they admire your compassion, and will protect it like a vault. You may find challenges in friendships with fire signs, especially Aries or Leo, who may demand attention and action without always reciprocating emotional availability. Air signs like Aquarius or Gemini can also perplex you. Their need for independence and intellectual detachment may feel like abandonment or coldness to your sensitive heart. Your most fulfilling friendships are slow burn, emotionally attuned, and spiritually aligned. You're not interested in party friends or surface conversations. You want someone who can sit in silence with you and still say everything. Someone who'll look at the stars with you, not laugh at your cosmic metaphors. Someone who gets that vulnerability is your love language. Friendship, for you, is a sacred exchange. When it's mutual, respectful, and energetically balanced, it becomes one of the most nourishing forces in your life. But when it becomes one-sided, it drains your soul. Your biggest lesson? You don't owe everyone your empathy. You can be a healer without being a sponge. You can be available without being used. You're not obligated to keep fixing people who don't want to grow. You are the kind of friend that people never forget. Your compassion leaves fingerprints on their spirit. But never forget, your own soul needs tending too. Let your friends carry you sometimes. That's not weakness, that's reciprocity. And in true friendship, it's everything. Business money. Let's get one thing straight. You were never meant for the cubicle life. March 15th Pisceans aren't built to clock in, follow a script, and repeat the same routine day after day. Your soul yearns for purpose, imagination, and freedom. You function best in careers that allow you to create, connect, or heal. Your talent isn't just your work ethic, it's your ability to feel the emotional currents in a room, project, or person, and adjust accordingly. That's not just intuition, it's strategy, even if it doesn't look like it on paper. You thrive in fields that require emotional intelligence, imagination, or compassion. Think creative arts like film, music, writing, painting, or human-centered professions like therapy, counseling, spiritual coaching, nursing, or energy healing. You'd also make a phenomenal humanitarian, nonprofit leader, or animal advocate. Any job where your work means something, where someone's life is better because of what you did, that's where your light shines brightest. Even in business, you bring more than people expect. You're an emotional strategist. You may not love spreadsheets, but you can sense which ideas will move people. You have a gift for branding through feeling. You instinctively know how something should feel to be impactful. You're visionary, often ahead of the curve, and when you trust your gut, you make surprising leaps that more analytical types would never dare to take. Now, about money. You can earn it. In fact, when you're aligned with your passions, money flows to you almost magically. But the problem isn't earning, it's keeping. You're incredibly generous, often spending on others without a second thought. You'll fund someone's dream, cover a friend's rent, or give away your last dollar if someone you love is in pain. You also tend toward emotional spending. Retail therapy, spiritual courses, artistic indulgences, they call to you when your soul feels depleted. And sometimes, your head doesn't check in with your bank account until it's too late. You may also fall prey to magical money thinking, believing that abundance will always show up without planning for the down times. This can lead to boom and bust cycles, especially if you're freelancing or self-employed. One month, you're flush. The next, you're wondering if you should sell your crystals on eBay. This financial roller coaster isn't because you're careless, it's because money, to you, is energetic. It comes and goes with your emotional flow. But here's the secret. When you find a creative or healing path that also supports you financially, everything changes. You stop self-sabotaging. You stop undercharging. You begin to see money not as a betrayal of your spirit, but as a tool to amplify your impact. That's when you step into your financial power. It helps to partner with people who understand structure. A practical assistant, accountant, or business-minded friend can help turn your visionary ideas into sustainable income. You're the heart, they can be the spine. And together, you build something enduring. Ultimately, your greatest wealth isn't in dollars, it's in the effect you have on others. People remember your presence. Your work doesn't just entertain, inform, or serve, it transforms. And when you learn to value your magic enough to charge for it appropriately, you don't just succeed, you thrive. The dark side. Let's be honest. For those born on March 15th, emotional depth isn't just a gift, it's a whole galaxy. You feel things 10 layers deeper than most people even realize exist. This makes you capable of extraordinary empathy, soulful creativity, and transformative connection. But that same depth, it can pull you under. When left unprocessed, your inner world doesn't just get cloudy, it becomes a storm. The very thing that makes you magical can also make you self-destructive if you're not conscious of your darker patterns. One of the most potent shadow traits you carry is emotional manipulation, and it almost never starts intentionally. You're not out to control or hurt people, but when you feel wounded, misunderstood, or unappreciated, you may start to communicate indirectly, dropping hints instead of being clear, using silence as punishment, or guilt-tripping without even realizing it. You might cry rather than speak, withdraw rather than confront, or act out your pain rather than name it. Why? Because confrontation feels like violence to your spirit. So instead, you try to express yourself emotionally. But when you're hurt, that emotion can become a tool, one that bends situations toward your will without open dialogue. The key is recognizing when you're being vulnerable, and when you're using vulnerability as a weapon. Another major shadow lies in escapism. Reality, with all its harsh edges and emotional disappointments, can feel intolerable to your sensitive nature. So, like a fish slipping through a net, you often swim away. Sometimes it's into fantasy, where the world is kinder, where love is perfect, where your dreams are safe from criticism. Other times it's into substances, addictive behaviors, obsessive relationships, or spiritual bypassing. You can chase highs or illusions just to avoid the discomfort of being fully here. And when love becomes a drug, you might keep returning to the wrong person simply because they feed your dream of what love should be. You also struggle with a martyr complex, and it can be both subtle and corrosive. You give, you sacrifice, you pour out your soul, and when people don't recognize or reciprocate, resentment quietly takes root. But instead of expressing it directly, you internalize it. You think, why am I always the one who cares more? Why do I have to fix everything? And yet, you keep doing it. This is one of the most painful patterns for March 15th Pisceans. You unconsciously believe that love must be earned through suffering. But love freely given should also be freely received. Until you believe that, you'll continue attracting relationships where you're more nurse than partner, more savior than equal. Then there's your fear of reality. While others may call it naivete, it's actually something deeper, a resistance to the brutality of human nature. You don't want to accept that people lie, that love can end, that good intentions don't always lead to good outcomes. So you avoid uncomfortable truths, delay decisions, or stay in places long after your soul has outgrown them. You may spiritualize things that need to be faced head-on, convincing yourself that everything happens for a reason when, sometimes, you just need to leave, confront, or change. Truth is, reality isn't your enemy, it's your anchor. The more grounded you become, the more your gifts can blossom without dissolving you. But here's what separates you from those who do real harm. Even at your lowest, you rarely turn darkness outward. When lost, you're less likely to lash out than to implode inward. You become the wounded healer archetype, someone who bleeds silently, who internalizes blame, who becomes consumed with fixing others in a desperate attempt to avoid your own emptiness. And in that way, you can vanish behind your own eyes, disappearing into emotional fog. The path to healing lies in grounding. That means learning to name your needs instead of hinting at them. Facing pain instead of numbing it. Asking for help instead of overgiving to prove your worth. The truth is, you don't have to carry everyone's burdens. You don't have to save the world to deserve rest, love, or peace. Your darkness is not evil. It's simply unmet emotion, and when you face it with compassion and courage, it becomes your greatest teacher. It teaches you discernment, boundaries, and how to love without losing yourself. It teaches you that your depth is a gift, not a sentence. It reminds you that sensitivity isn't weakness, it's power, once claimed and directed. Life purpose. You didn't come to this earth to win awards, collect titles, or chase applause. You came to feel, to heal, to illuminate, and to transform. Your life purpose is soaked in meaning from the very beginning. Even if it doesn't always make sense to others, even if it looks unorthodox or meandering, you are guided by a sense that something larger is always calling to you. That something is your soul, nudging you toward your higher mission. At your core, you are a bridge between worlds, the emotional and the logical, the spiritual and the material, the mystical and the mundane. You see the patterns behind people's pain. You understand what isn't said. You feel what others suppress. This sensitivity makes you an unparalleled translator of the invisible. Whether you're making art, giving advice, writing stories, raising children, or offering kindness to strangers, you're constantly bringing unseen beauty into the world. You're also meant to be a voice for the unheard. This could mean advocating for marginalized people, amplifying others through art, writing memoirs that explore emotional wounds, or simply sitting beside someone in pain and whispering, "I hear you." Your presence brings healing, not through force, but through recognition. By acknowledging people's inner lives, you awaken their light. You remind them they matter. Equally important is your role as a channel for beauty and meaning. You turn pain into poetry. You find the sacred in the shattered. You notice the sunlight through broken blinds and call it holy. You make art out of silence. And you show people that even the softest soul can be a source of strength. Your life isn't about fame, it's about resonance. Your impact is felt in the way you walk through the world, not just what you build, but how you make people feel along the way. But here's the twist: to fully live your purpose, you must serve yourself too. You must protect your energy, nurture your joy, and believe that you are worthy even when you're not helping anyone else. Because your greatest service doesn't come from martyrdom, it comes from alignment. From embodying the truth that sensitivity and strength are not opposites, but reflections of the same source. When you live from that place, when your outer life reflects your inner truth, you become unstoppable. Not because you dominate, but because you uplift. You radiate quiet power. Your calm steadiness inspires others to slow down and feel. Your honesty gives them permission to tell the truth. Your art makes them believe again. Your empathy becomes a balm for the collective wound. You're not just here to survive, you're here to awaken. To leave every place softer than you found it. To show people that depth isn't a trap, it's a door. And when you walk through that door, you become the lighthouse others have been searching for. Not because you shout, but because you shine. Numerology of March 15th. Let's dive deeper than the digits. In numerology, the date of your birth is more than just a calendar mark. It's a frequency, a vibration, a code that reveals the essence of your life's purpose, emotional blueprint, and innate strengths. Being born on March 15th gifts you with a beautifully complex numerical identity rooted in both independence and harmony. Let's break that down. The day 15 is a blend of 1 and 5. The number 1 represents individuality, self-leadership, initiative, and the pioneering spirit. It's the number of the self, a reminder that your personal journey is vital and valid, even when you're focused on others. The number 5 brings a completely different flavor: freedom, adventure, sensuality, and the constant thirst for experience. It's restless, curious, and loves breaking the mold. When 1 and 5 come together in the 15, they create a dynamic tension between independence and the need to connect, between the desire to lead your own life and the temptation to lose yourself in pleasure, emotion, or relationships. This can result in a charismatic, passionate, and magnetic personality, but one that often wrestles with inner duality. You may crave stability one moment and wild, uncharted change the next. You want deep roots and wings, love and freedom, peace and passion. It's not that you're indecisive, it's that you feel everything so vividly that you long to experience all of it. Now, reduce 1 plus 5, and you get 6, the life path number that serves as the foundation of your numerological profile. This is the number of the nurturer. Life path 6 is all about service, compassion, family, emotional responsibility, and love. You were born to care, not in a performative, polite way, but in the deep, soulful way that makes people feel safe, valued, and seen. You're the person friends call when their world falls apart. You hold space like a healer, offer support like a mentor, and love with the kind of depth most people spend lifetimes chasing. Your presence is soothing, restorative, and magnetic, often drawing others to you whether you intend it or not. Your home is sacred to you, not just the physical space, but the feeling you create. Whether you're a parent, partner, friend, or chosen family member, you instinctively want to build sanctuaries, both emotional and physical. You care deeply about others' well-being. You want to solve problems, fix wounds, and protect the people you love. That sounds noble, and it is, but it can also become your biggest trap. Life path 6s often overgive. You offer your energy so generously that you forget to leave some for yourself. You say yes when you're burning out. You shoulder emotional burdens that were never yours to begin with. You give and give, sometimes to the point of exhaustion, believing that love is earned through self-sacrifice. But here's the truth: your worth is not based on how much you do for others. You are valuable even when you rest, even when you say no. The challenge of Life Path 6 is learning the sacred art of boundaried compassion. How to give love without depleting yourself. How to nurture without rescuing. How to serve without losing your own identity in the process. This path asks you to remember that you are just as worthy of care as anyone else. And here's where the Piscean energy amplifies everything. Your zodiac sign already makes you deeply emotional, intuitive, and spiritually inclined. Combine that with a 6 life path, and you become a walking heart chakra, a soulful empath with the potential to either heal the world or be crushed by it, depending on how you manage your energy. You're drawn to creative or humanitarian careers, those where your emotional intelligence can shine. You may become a counselor, artist, teacher, healer, or even a stay-at-home parent who quietly shapes lives every day. But whatever path you take, your deeper mission is always the same: to restore harmony, beauty, and balance where there was once chaos. You are at your best when you allow your inner world to guide your outer impact. When you fill your own cup first, you pour into others from a place of power, not depletion. When you recognize that nurturing doesn't mean martyrdom, you become an unstoppable force of healing. And when you trust your own wisdom and give yourself the same compassion you offer others, you finally become whole. In numerology, 6 is also the number of aesthetic beauty and soulful responsibility. You're someone who can walk into a space and feel what's missing, not just visually, but energetically. You may rearrange furniture to create better flow, bring people together who've never met, or offer a single sentence that mends years of emotional distance. You are a harmonizer of environments and relationships, a curator of peace, a sculptor of emotional safety. And ultimately, your journey as a March 15th soul under life path 6 is not about perfection. It's about becoming a sanctuary, for yourself first, and then for others. It's about leading with your heart while protecting your spirit. It's about giving love not to prove your worth, but because it's your natural state of being when you're whole. Druid Horoscope, the fig tree. In the ancient Druidic tree zodiac, a system older than the Roman calendar and deeply tied to nature's rhythms, those born between March 14th and 20 fall under the mystical influence of the fig tree. Unlike the fast-talking Mercury signs or the hard-driving Mars archetypes, fig tree souls are creatures of softness, sensation, and quiet magnetism. You don't command attention by raising your voice, you draw it by simply being. The fig tree is a symbol of sensuality, emotion, fertility, and generosity. Its fruit is sweet, hidden, and sacred, just like your emotional core. People are drawn to you because there's something undeniably comforting about your presence. You offer warmth without pressure, beauty without ego, wisdom without condescension. You're not flashy, but you're unforgettable. Those born under the fig tree are private but potent. You carry a rich emotional world inside you, one that very few people ever fully access. This isn't because you're closed off. On the contrary, you're deeply affectionate. But you're also intuitive enough to know who deserves access to your emotional vault, and who doesn't. You guard your inner world not out of fear, but out of sacred discernment. You are a lover of comfort, art, and tactile pleasure. You find joy in a perfectly brewed cup of tea, the feel of silk, the smell of old books, the quiet hush of candlelight. Aesthetics matter to you, not in a shallow, materialistic sense, but as a form of emotional nourishment. You surround yourself with beauty not to impress others, but to soothe your spirit. Emotionally, you are deeply protective and nurturing of those you love. You don't just love, you tend to people. You remember the details. You care for them physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But like all trees, the fig has its boundaries. Push too hard, demand too much, and you'll find that soft sweetness vanishing behind a firm wall of silence. You know how to withdraw your energy without drama, just a quiet, permanent shift. Your shadow side lies in your tendency to isolate when overwhelmed. Because you feel so much, you may go off the grid when emotionally flooded, retreating into solitude instead of processing your feelings with others. You may also indulge in escapist pleasures, food, fantasy, or aesthetic distractions, when reality feels too harsh. But unlike many signs, your escapism isn't chaotic. It's deliberate. You disappear to rebuild. The Druidic fig tree teaches that emotional sovereignty is the highest form of power. You are not meant to be everything to everyone. You are not meant to be consumed. You are meant to be savored. Those who respect your rhythms, your need for emotional privacy, aesthetic calm, and loyal love, will find in you a friend, partner, or soul they'll never replace. Ultimately, your spirit is quietly revolutionary. You don't conquer through force, you transform through presence. You remind people to slow down, to feel, to honor beauty, to cherish tenderness, and in a world that rushes past the sacred, you stand still and call others back to the magic they've forgotten. Vedic Astrology, Meena Rashi Pisces. In the intricate, spiritually precise world of Vedic astrology, those born on March 15 fall under the zodiac sign known as Meena Rashi, the Sanskrit term for Pisces. This sign is governed not by Neptune, as in Western astrology, but by Guru, the mighty and benevolent planet Jupiter. In the Vedic tradition, Jupiter is more than just a celestial body. It is the guru of the gods, the symbol of knowledge, expansion, devotion, and divine wisdom. Its rulership over your chart bestows upon you a profound spiritual essence, one that you may not even fully understand until later in life. As a Meena native, you were born under a water sign, which means your emotional and intuitive currents run deep and wide. But unlike the turbulent, aggressive waters of Scorpio or the nurturing streams of Cancer, Meena's emotional flow is oceanic, spiritual, boundless, and often ungraspable. Your soul seems to exist half in this world and half in another. There's always a piece of you that's floating, whether in dreams, art, fantasy, or divine thought. You are the mystic, the artist, the poet, the lover of silence, the one who speaks not just through words, but through the heart. Your planetary ruler, Jupiter, gives you a vastness of spirit. This manifests as generosity, philosophical thinking, love for higher learning, and an almost compulsive urge to understand the deeper meaning behind everything. You're not content with surface answers. You want to know why people suffer, what love is truly meant to heal, how the universe is structured, what God means to different cultures. You could easily spend your life exploring spiritual systems, meditation, sacred texts, or ancient philosophies, and many of you do. Even if you were raised outside a religious or spiritual context, there's always a pull toward the divine, whatever form it takes for you. You are likely to be highly artistic, with a deep appreciation for music, visual beauty, sacred architecture, and poetic expression. You don't just create for the sake of creation. You channel. When you write, paint, dance, or perform, you are not performing tasks. You are transmitting emotion, meaning, and cosmic insight. Your art often feels like it's coming through you, not from you. And others feel it, even if they can't explain why. However, this spiritual sensitivity and artistic idealism can make it hard to fully engage with the material world. You may find jobs tedious, routines oppressive, systems frustrating. You struggle with the harshness of practical life. Budgets, schedules, bureaucracy, these things can make your spirit feel boxed in. And so you sometimes withdraw, not always physically, but mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. You float, you disappear into daydreams, you become elusive. This is your defense mechanism against a world that often feels too harsh for your gentle soul. But herein lies your karmic lesson, to balance the spiritual with the practical. To be deeply rooted in soul, and still know how to manage money, keep commitments, or move through modern society without constantly escaping into fantasy. Vedic teachings would say that your dharma, your sacred duty, is not to reject the world, but to bring divine light into the world. To be in it, but not of it. You are not meant to abandon material life, but to infuse it with soul, empathy, and higher purpose. This balance is difficult but crucial. Without it, your gifts can turn into burdens. Your compassion becomes exhaustion. Your idealism becomes disillusionment. Your intuition becomes paranoia. Your generosity becomes martyrdom. But when you live in alignment with your higher nature while still showing up in the real world, you become a true spiritual force, someone who elevates the people, spaces, and systems you touch. Another powerful Vedic trait associated with Meena is moksha karaka energy, the energy of liberation. Many born under Meena Rashi carry the subtle longing for freedom, not just from worldly obligations, but from suffering itself. You often strive not just to improve your life, but to help others escape their own inner bondage. This is why so many Meena-born souls end up in healing roles: therapists, spiritual guides, artists, compassionate leaders, or caregivers. Your life path isn't about ego. It's about soul fulfillment, not just yours, but that of those around you. In relationships, you bring the same spiritual depth. You are romantic to the point of transcendence. You're not satisfied with transactional love or surface companionship. You seek soul union, something that feels fated, sacred, and emotionally expansive. But if your partner lacks depth or emotional maturity, you may drift apart without even realizing it. Your heart won't settle for half light, it wants the whole flame. Spiritually, you are pulled toward practices that dissolve the ego and awaken divine connection, things like meditation, bhakti devotion, mantra chanting, sacred music, or mindfulness. The more you follow this path, the more your life begins to mirror the qualities of Jupiter: wisdom, growth, and boundless love. When you resist this calling, however, you may fall into escapism, addiction, self-pity, or emotional confusion. Ultimately, Vedic astrology teaches that you, as a Meena soul, are here to walk gently but powerfully, bridging heaven and earth. You're not just someone who believes in magic. You are magic, disguised as a person. And when you root that magic in structure, when you give your dreams a vessel, you don't just drift, you illuminate the ocean for everyone around you. Flower horoscope, daffodil. The daffodil, with its golden trumpet and delicate, reaching petals, is not just a flower. It's a metaphor for resurrection, for emotional rebirth, and for hope in cold places. As the official birth flower of March 15th, the daffodil aligns almost eerily well with the essence of your spirit. It blooms when the world is still in winter's grip, often pushing through frost to deliver its message: spring is coming. Light is returning. All is not lost. You, too, carry that message. Your energy, like the daffodils, is quietly radiant. You don't shout for attention. You shine by being yourself, gentle, kind, resilient, and life-affirming. People feel better when you're around, even if they don't know why. You have a natural way of offering encouragement without platitudes, inspiration without pressure. Like the first flowers after a brutal season, your presence reminds people that life renews. That love is worth believing in. That beauty can survive even in difficult soil. But like the daffodil, you are also delicate. You have a softness that needs sunlight, water, and care. If you're exposed to too much darkness, be it toxic relationships, overstimulation, harsh criticism, or emotional neglect, you begin to wilt inside. This isn't weakness, it's simply your nature. Your sensitivity is your strength, but it must be protected. You thrive in emotionally safe environments, places where your heart can be open without fear of judgment. Spaces that allow for stillness, creativity, and warmth. You wither in cold, dry atmospheres, both literally and metaphorically. If a space lacks emotional depth, beauty, or kindness, your spirit knows it and begins to retreat. That's your intuition guiding you toward the conditions you need to bloom. The daffodil also symbolizes new beginnings, something you experience multiple times in one lifetime. March 15th individuals rarely live linear lives. Yours is a story of reinvention, emotional resurrection, and spiritual awakening. You may go through periods of darkness, even depression, but you are uniquely wired to rise again, stronger, softer, wiser. Just like the daffodil, you return, every time, bringing light back with you. Emotionally, you bring clarity and refreshment to others. Just as the daffodil cleanses the winter landscape with its golden hue, you have a way of cleansing emotional spaces. You uplift with honesty, warmth, and a kind of intuitive knowing that seems to speak directly to the soul. You can walk into a tense room and shift the energy simply by being present. Your aura itself is restorative. But don't forget, even daffodils need rest. After their vibrant bloom, they retreat underground, drawing strength in silence so they can rise again next season. You must allow yourself the same grace. Don't try to shine constantly. Don't feel guilty for needing to step back. Your light is more powerful when it comes from a place of authentic renewal, not performance. Ultimately, the daffodil reminds you that you are not here to endure darkness, you are here to end it. In others, in spaces, in yourself, you are the promise that warmth always returns. That love is still possible. That softness survives. And like the daffodil, you were not made to be cut and displayed. You were made to grow from the earth, to return again and again, and to light the world after its longest nights. Stone horoscope, aquamarine. If you were born on March 15th, your birthstone is the luminous, soul-soothing aquamarine, a gemstone that isn't just beautiful, but almost alchemically aligned with your emotional and spiritual nature. Known as the stone of the sea, aquamarine has long been associated with the depths of emotion, intuition, and communication. In ancient times, sailors believed it to be a treasure of mermaids, carrying it to calm turbulent waves and protect them on long journeys. For you, born under the ever-flowing Pisces sign, aquamarine serves a remarkably similar purpose. It keeps you steady when the emotional tides inside you rise too high. At a glance, aquamarine's translucent blue-green color mirrors the ocean, mysterious, vast, and forever changing. So does your inner world. Your emotions can sometimes feel as if they come in waves, rising, crashing, and then disappearing again into silence. That's why this stone isn't just aesthetically fitting, it's energetically medicinal. It helps you stay centered within the fluidity of your feelings, offering a sense of peace that doesn't dull your emotional intelligence, but rather clarifies it. Emotionally, aquamarine acts like a gentle emotional detox. You, as a March 15th Pisces, tend to carry the emotions of everyone around you: friends, lovers, family, strangers. Sometimes, you don't even realize that what you're feeling isn't yours. Aquamarine helps you release emotional residue that's clung to you, washing it away like the tide clearing the shore. It's not about becoming less empathetic, it's about making sure your empathy doesn't drown your own voice. One of the core powers of aquamarine is its ability to enhance clear communication, especially emotional expression. You often feel things intensely but may struggle to articulate what you're experiencing, either because it feels too overwhelming, or because you're afraid your truth might upset others. This is where aquamarine becomes your ally. It gently opens the throat chakra, the energetic center of voice and expression, allowing your truth to flow out in a way that feels safe, honest, and healing. It helps you speak not just with words, but with compassion. Not just to be heard, but to connect. Another core alignment between you and aquamarine is the stone's deep connection to intuition and spiritual insight. As someone born on March 15th, you are naturally gifted in the unseen realms, whether that's through dreamwork, artistic creation, emotional attunement, or metaphysical exploration. Aquamarine doesn't give you these gifts, you already have them, but it amplifies and organizes them, helping you differentiate between instinct and projection, insight and illusion. It acts as a spiritual compass, aligning your intuition with clarity instead of confusion. Aquamarine also offers profound support when you're navigating grief, loss, or emotional overwhelm, all things you, as a sensitive Pisces, may experience more intensely than others. When worn over the heart or close to the pulse, aquamarine can calm panic, quiet intrusive thoughts, and bring your nervous system back into harmony. It's like having a whisper of the ocean with you, reminding you to breathe, flow, and let go. Energetically, aquamarine is a stone of courage and alignment, not the loud kind of courage, but the quiet bravery it takes to tell the truth. To leave what no longer nourishes you. To show up in your softness, even in a hard world. It grounds you not in the earth, but in your inner ocean, your soul's rhythm. And from that place, you can act with intention, speak with wisdom, and love without losing yourself. In your day-to-day life, aquamarine can be worn as a talisman, held during meditation, or kept on your nightstand to enhance emotional clarity and peaceful sleep. It helps cleanse old emotional patterns and brings a cooling energy to your often overheated heart. It doesn't dull your passion, it just filters it through wisdom. With aquamarine close, you remember that sensitivity is not a weakness, it's your strength once you learn to anchor it. Ultimately, aquamarine is not just a stone, it's a mirror of your soul's essence. Fluid, deep, intuitive, radiant, healing. When you wear it, meditate with it, or simply keep it nearby, you're aligning your outer life with your inner truth. And that alignment, that's your superpower. Summary. If you were born on March 15th, the stars, numbers, and ancient traditions agree. You are no ordinary soul. You are a visionary by design, a person whose heart, intuition, and imagination operate on a frequency most people can only dream of. You love with intensity, connect with depth, and create from a place that is both mystical and profoundly human. You are a visionary lover, seeking not just companionship, but soul-merging, transcendent love that feels like it was scripted in the stars. You are a soulful friend, the one who remembers every detail, holds space in silence, and shows up even when you're unraveling yourself. Creatively, you are a powerhouse, not because of ego, but because of your ability to channel emotion into beauty. Whether through art, music, language, or energy, you can express the unspoken and help others see their own inner worlds more clearly. You are a healer by nature, whether formally or through everyday compassion. People walk away from you changed, not because you fix them, but because you see them. At your core, you are a sensitive empath, able to feel energy shifts in a room, absorb the pain of those around you, and intuitively know what others need, even before they do. But you're not weak. You are a warrior of emotional intelligence, learning how to stand in your softness without being swallowed by it. You are learning how to wield your sensitivity like a sword and a bomb, cutting through illusion while healing what's real. But your gifts are not without challenges. You must guard against escapism, whether through fantasy, addiction, toxic love, or emotional withdrawal. The world can overwhelm you, but your job is not to flee it. Your job is to bring light into it. You must be vigilant about overgiving, remembering that you don't need to lose yourself in order to love others well. You must watch for emotional manipulation, especially when you're hurt, learning that true power lies in truth, not tactics. And you must confront your fear of confrontation, discovering that setting boundaries is not an act of war, it's an act of self-respect. Your mission is as poetic as it is profound: to live with heart, led with soul, and create beauty wherever you go. You are not here to blend in or dim down. You are not here to perform or pretend. You are here to enchant the world, not through tricks, but through truth. Through your art, through your empathy, through your refusal to let the world harden you. You are a mirror for the sacred, a reminder that kindness can be fierce, that softness can be strong, that sensitivity, when honored, becomes its own kind of superpower. You are not just a Pisces. You are a March 15th Pisces. And that means you are a light in the deep, guiding others not with noise, but with presence. Not with perfection, but with soul. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out more guides down below. You might just discover something that changes your path forever. And remember, the stars don't control you, but they do light your way.